Are you looking for an escape from manufactured truth wrapped in selfish agenda? Don't you just want to have a real and raw conversation, all masks and rules aside? That's what you're getting here at Titan Evolution Podcast. Get rid of all the nonsense information and discuss everything under the sun without filters. Listen to real stories of real people who will put your current perspectives to the test, guide you on living the life you truly want, and see everything free from judgment and pretenses. Time to get rid of those unhealthy environments and let your authentic self shine. Here are your hosts, Travis Johnson and Carol Carpenter.
Hi, I'm here today, joined by our amazing Travis Johnson as my co-host. And we have our special guest here today, Dr. Julie Ducharme. And Julie has been a consultant, instructor, and serial business entrepreneur for the last 17 years, helping colleges shape their programs, getting businesses off the bottom floor, and helping both individuals and businesses flourish and grow. Julie has also been a keynote speaker, author, business consultant, entrepreneur, instructor, and a special consultant in women's empowerment. I know that's a lot, right? Julie is also the creator and founder and CEO of Julie's Party People, JD Consulting, and Synergy Learning Institute. She currently has 2 e-courses, Slippers to Stilettos and Combat Boots to Heels, based on her best-selling book, Leading by My Ponytail, Why Can't I Wear Pink and Be the President? Welcome to the Titan Evolution Podcast, Julie.
Thank you.
My God, that was a ton. Did I miss anything? Because I feel like I missed at least something.
Oh, you missed a ton of stuff.
I was realizing things I just didn't even put in there. Like I have a whole nother company I made during COVID that I forgot to put in there.
Professional basketball player, guru, founder of She Talks. And what that all means is she has actually no free time. She's actually working and returning emails while having a conversation with us, I imagine.
Multitasking.
I have multiple arms happening. So yeah, I do a lot of stuff. You know, I stay busy. And in fact, Travis and I were just having a conversation about me delegating more, which is an issue, but I'm working on it.
Somebody's a control freak. I love it.
Just a little.
So tell us what makes you a Titan, Julie?
You know, it's interesting to hear that term because, you know, probably like 6 or 7 years ago, if you asked me if I could be a Titan, I would be like, absolutely not. Like, why would you ever classify me as that? Because I had kind of this and just like a little background. When I went off to college, I was a real underdog, grew up in a little farm town, no club training, but I could jump really high, head over the net for volleyball, touch rim for basketball. So coaches were interested in me, but I didn't have any formal training. So I went in as an underdog. When I got into college first year, first class I took, is English class. I mean, I was so stoked to be in college and out of a farm town. I was like the most excited person in the English class to be there. And I got my first paper back, got a D on it, which was not normal for me. Went to the professor and was like, hey, you know, what can I do to be better? And he was like, you know what? You're not smart enough to be here. You should drop out. And that was 18 years old.
D for discouragement.
Yeah, I'm on a scholarship. I'm literally like living my dream. I'm just like, oh my God, this is amazing. I can't believe this happened. And for like the next 10, 12 years of my life, I fully believe that. I went on to win 3 national titles in volleyball. I went on to play professional volleyball and basketball overseas. I started 3 businesses and became a college professor at 23 and had my doctorate at 29. But I still really felt that I wasn't good enough and I wasn't smart enough. That's why I worked so hard to get all these things on there to prove everyone that I was smart enough. And I would say that this was probably my Titan moment. So not maybe 10 or so years to the date of this professor telling me this, I run into him at this popular place in town and he remembers me and he's like, hey, Julie, how are you doing? And in this, you know, kind of moment, it was like a movie, right? You're seeing all these flashes of all these things that have happened in my last 10 years, right? And I'm like, I've always been smart enough. And so I look at him and I'm like, that's Dr. Julie Ducharme and I'm doing just fine. And then I walked away.
Oh!
So it was kind of, and my husband was just like, that was amazing. I can't believe you did that. You know? And not everyone gets a moment, and it wasn't me trying to get revenge or anything like that. It was just kind of this moment of like, you know what? I am smart. I am good enough to do it. But it was funny to have this one person who could care less about me tell me this, and I fully believe it, which is what kind of embodied me to go on this mission. And so that was my first step of what I think made me a Titan, was fighting past the barriers that were very much put up by myself and convincing myself that I was good at what I did. I was damn good at what I did, but I just didn't know it. And so from that point on, I went from not being the Julie who didn't believe in herself to the Julie of like, what else can I do? What else can I conquer? And so that's when I really stepped into expanding my businesses. I had been coaching ball, at a high level for the colleges. And I just decided it was time to just take it up a notch. And I had a mentor say to me like, hey, take those businesses to the next level. Why not? And no one had ever said that to me. Everyone told me that women don't do business and I should go be an English teacher. And there was definitely multiple fingers that went up on those comments.
We all know how you did in English, so that's probably not a good idea.
Yeah. But I was told I shouldn't be an author. I mean, a long list of things. So from that point on, I just was like, the only thing stopping me from doing anything I want to do is me. I mean, people can say stuff all the time, but I'm the person that has to decide if I want to do it. And so, it was like moving forward, like I had a ton of body issues and I would have never done any modeling. And I ended up doing some modeling. I had insecurity issues where I would never get on TV or never get on a podcast, that I had to get past those. I remember having an anxiety attack while I was driving to the radio station to do my radio show for the first time. Right? Like you would never know, but I was literally having an anxiety attack about it because I was so freaked out about it, which people never know that. So, which is what pushed me to write my book and be really transparent about it. Because people are like, your life is perfect. Nothing's ever wrong with you, Julie. You're so happy all the time. Like, you got to stop. I have so many issues.
But don't you think that people too, like they see where you are now, but they never saw everything it took and the things you had to overcome to get to where you currently are? They just automatically see, oh my God, you're perfect. Like there's nothing wrong with you, but they don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because, like I said, I have body issues. So, I mean, for me to go do a shoot is very difficult to this day, right? It doesn't matter if people are like, you look beautiful, you look amazing, you look great. It takes all my energy to go walk onto that shoot and do that. It's really tough. And I laugh and giggle and I'm silly the whole time to make it more easier for me to do. But yeah, I mean, I had times where I was crying in the shower after every game. I remember losing the national title my senior year and someone taking a picture of me on a payphone, by the way, crying on the phone to my mom about it. Right. And people are like, oh, we had so much success, and I'm like, it was a freaking high wall to crawl while people threw rocks at me while I was climbing up it to knock me off of it. So, I think becoming a Titan too, to me is like, it's not about money. It's not about like the success that the world defines as success. I'm not a Kardashian. I never would want to be a Kardashian, but a lot of people consider them successful. I think success is where you find your passion and you're doing your passion and you love it. I mean, that's kind of where I am in life. I never would have ever found myself here. I didn't even want to be a teacher. My whole family was teachers. Somehow I ended up being a college professor for quite a while. But it was like, how did I end up here? I'm like Cameron Diaz in The Bad Teacher. You'd never want me to teach your kids K through 12. You've seen that movie. I'm just saying.
That was a funny movie. Yeah.
Send them with the basketball in the face when they're getting the answers wrong. I'm like fully for that. I'm like, let's go for that. So I got along well with my college students because I didn't BS them. I was totally honest and we had straight up conversations. And before you know it, I had waiting lists to get into my classes because I was just like, listen, let's have some real life here, people. I'm not going to BS you about it. So I, if I think of a Titan, that's kind of how I look at it. It's like, you're getting to what you love to do. You're owning it. You're going after it and you're being real and transparent about it. And that's tough to do. I wanted the perfect house, the perfect family, the perfect looking kids, the perfect life, because that is what is sold. And that is so not That's so not true. You know, I want to be really realistic, especially with women. Be like, listen, there's a pile of laundry sitting over there they haven't got to in 4 days. There's dishes in the sink. My floor probably hasn't been vacuumed in a week. Like, and now you can hate me or, you know, think I'm horrible. And then people are like, I haven't done my dishes in 3 weeks. so
Well, because real life is truly messy. I mean,
yeah,
that's what people don't get. And when you are busy, those things kind of lay by the wayside and you feel guilty the whole time while you're accomplishing these things.
well, culture dictates what a woman should look and do today. I mean, I don't know if we can agree on that, but I mean,
Yes.
it's a really high standard that is very difficult to meet, you know?
It's almost impossible. Are you kidding? What they want women to look like and what we should embody in their minds it's insane.
So I got to ask because a guy looks at He-Man, who's an impossible standard. We never assume there's any pressure to look like that. Why is it that guys don't feel any pressure to rise to that level, but women feel pressure to rise to whatever they see on TV?
That's a good question. And, you know, I mean, I feel like we're almost like bombarded and almost brainwashed with, you know, if you look at every magazine that when you're in line of what these celebrities look like, and nothing in celebrities, I have friends who are celebrities, but they live a very different lifestyle. You know, they get paid to work out 24/7. They get paid to look like that. I think that there's such a push on the female side to look and embrace like that. That's where I think the pressure comes. I think it starts really young, you know, with and everything. I mean, I really think there's a lot of grooming done to be like that, you know. And the funny thing is that my mother, if you met my mother, she was a lovely, very wonky person. She like kind of got to the 80s and was like, I'm done doing fashion. I'm just going to sit here in the 80s. And she would wear a purple jumpsuit. She would and she was like the bad version of Martha Stewart, right? So like Martha Stewart stuff would be like perfect. She'd be like, here's this giant glob of plastic that I just melted into a necklace, and it would be like this big, you know, and she'd be wearing it with her jumpsuit, and we're like, she's like a bad version of a rapper, right? You know, and I mean, my mom didn't care. She did not care. Like, I mean, we would always be like, and she had this bob. I mean, this bob went out a long time ago, and then it just kind of got like bigger and bigger. It's like a slight afro. And she was just this, and she would come on in, she didn't care. And she would tell me stuff like, just wear what you want, honey. Who cares? Just wear what you want. And I remember one summer I bought this neon outfit. Oh my God, I'll have to send you guys the picture. It was like neon green shorts, pink shirt, neon like visor, and then I had the poof. And I thought I was so hot in it. I thought I looked so amazing. I remember walking around camp like, yeah, you know, you like it. Yep. I mean, and you go back and look at that outfit and you're like, holy crap, what were you wearing? What you must have done, like been smoking something like when you were, but I remember that moment. And the reason I show this is being so free and feeling so good, right? Because I loved it. And that was the thing, is that my mom was always like, who cares? But we do care, right? We care what anyone thinks of us. And so for her to have that freedom to just, she's not, and guys, my mom was a hoot. She just did so much wacky things. She could never say like quesadilla, right? She'd pull up to Taco Bell and be like, can I have a quesadilla? You know, I mean, she was the whitest white woman you could ever meet. And, you know, it was hilarious. So, but yeah, I think that happens early. I think there's a grooming that happens with how you should be and who you should be and what you should be. And I think it's become stronger and stronger in our generations. And I feel for our kids. My daughter's 13 and my son's 10. And there is a lot of just crap that's going into them that they come home and ask me about. And I'm like, what? You heard what? Where? That they're worried.
What are your kids, Julie?
13 and 10.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, I think when we look about building titans, you know, I'm not aspiring to be a billionaire. I mean, sure, it'd be fun and wonderful and a lot of money, but, you know, I'm just aspiring to love what I do, have time to love on my family. You know, we went to the Galapagos for 2 weeks with our family, and it's an adventure that our kids will always remember for the rest of their lives. I myself as well, because there's a lot of fun stuff that happened there and crazy stuff. But, you know, those are the things that are I think most important. And I have a lot of respect for anyone who's just owning and rocking their industry And, who cares if they have, $1 billion, but if you have $1 billion and you want to give me some, I'll take it. Yeah. Just saying.
Ditto. Oh, that is such a great story. So what did it take for you to want to do all of these companies? And you also have a She Talks, which we had spoken about earlier, and a podcast that you kind of, put on pause for a little bit, but are you continuing that podcast as well?
Yep. Gosh, so the She Talks happened because we were, being a former professional athlete, I do different speaking gigs. And one time someone was like, you know what? You're just not famous enough to be on this stage. I was like, really? Screw you. So then I was like, I'll just make my own stage. So I made my own stage. And then those people who told me I couldn't be on their stage asked to be on my stage. And I was like, we're full. Sorry.
Seats taken. I'm not into revenge, but I'll definitely tell you what I'm thinking. Yeah.
So like, wonderful. Not trying to be vengeful, but that's part of the reason it started. And of course, we added more of a mission to it, obviously, where all the ticket sales go to support our veteran programs at the nonprofit college I have. So we wanted it to have a mission and a vision and purpose. And we wanted to give a stage to any women who wanted to tell their story. They don't have to be famous. They can just come and tell their story. And we also train them. So if they've never had public speaking, we actually take them through a whole program. We train them. And then when they speak, we make a professional video for them so they can use that for, future things that they do. So that's how She Talks evolved about 4.5 years ago. And then, same thing with my company. So I have 4. So besides the 3 you mentioned, I started a 4th one during COVID because I was like, well, I got a little free time. Like, what else should I do?
The dangers of free time with Julie.
With me. So I started Taylor Elite Sports. My maiden name is Taylor. And I've been wanting to design a volleyball glove for a while. So I started working on that. We had a few hiccups. One of my designers was in Portland, Oregon when all the craziness was happening. So they burnt down her whole place. And then, we had, and they broke her arm, so she couldn't sew the glove. So then
this was the writing in conjunction with which event?
With Taylor. I can't remember which thing this was in Portland, Oregon, where they were having riots or something like that.
Was this in response to George Floyd a couple of years ago?
It might have been. I don't remember exactly which one. There was a couple. So we had some hiccups with that, but we finally have the glove going into production. I found a US-based company here. So that was a start. When I started all of this, they were little, and then they kind of just all decided to grow at the same time. And then my grandma said to me, you can't complain when you have work. So I was like, okay, Grandma, well, fine, I won't complain. So I just let them keep all growing. And I've entertained selling one of them, but then COVID hit. So now we've got to kind of readjust and probably run for a couple more years before we try and sell again. But I love being an entrepreneur. I've kind of got the bug. So I guess that's why I have 4 companies. And so we have the 4 companies. We have She Talks. We have, what was the other thing we were talking about? Gosh, there's so many. I'm like trying to, put my.
Well, really, it's
Travis,
just like,
weren't you on one of her?
I was on her podcast, the Authentically You podcast.
Okay.
Where we had tons of fun because Julie and I love giving each other a hard time or something like that.
Yeah. So that's coming back. So we were on the radio with that. And then COVID kind of shut all that down, and then we brought it back. So it's been going for about 4 years, I think. And we interview people just doing authentic things. So we've interviewed everyone from, Vernice Flygirl, the first African-American female combat pilot, Justine Siegel, first woman to coach men's professional baseball, Jen Welter, the first woman to not only play a position other than kicker in the NFL, but then also coach in the NFL. And so, and we've just had people from all over the world doing cool stuff. So, Harlem Globetrotters, all sorts of stuff like that. So it's a fun show. I wanted to have something that was fun and unique and not political, and was just highlighting people doing amazing things. And that's how it evolved, because everyone keeps trying to get a political show going. And I'm like, I am not doing that.
No, not interested.
So
those
I just-
topics are so complex. Like there's a reason they're still in contention. We haven't solved them yet.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll ever be solved, not because it's unsolvable, but because there's just such a wide spectrum of opinions and what does and does not matter in the different facets of all of these arguments. It is just so interesting to see how people are just unwilling to hear any other point of view. They've had an idea, they turned it into opinion, then they've onboarded it into their personal identity, and now they can't hear any other options. Like they're a toddler. Like, nope, it's my toy. I'm taking it. Someone tries to take it away, you scream for mom, whatever their reasoning is, and they're unwilling to just have a conversation about something that could potentially be different. And being open to that is what really causes us to grow. And I think the media just wants us to be mad at each other.
They want everybody to pick teams. That's basically it.
Yeah.
And no one wants to get picked last, right?
I don't know what that's like, Travis.
You don't. You absolutely don't. You've been dominating sports and everything that you've pretty much touched from a very young age. You haven't had real struggles like me and Carol.
Listen, I can't make a good omelet. I'm still struggling on that.
Wow.
The flip, I'm struggling with that. So, I'm hoping Gordon Chef Ramsay will stop by.
So he can yell at you and then help you do it, right? Yeah. Tell us some of the really like hard, challenging, overcoming stories throughout your journey, or you could just tell us about how you eat yogurt in commercials and make all the boys blush.
Okay, let's talk about the hard stuff, not the yogurt, which I'm glad you got it right this time. Last time you called it pudding, and I was like, listen, I have standards. It's yogurt. So challenges. When I was in academia, I moved up the ranks really fast. So by the time I was like 29, I was dean over 20 business colleges. One of the youngest people at the university to do that. And so some people loved me and some people hated me because they thought that I slept my way to the top, which I didn't. I actually went through the whole process the right way. And I had 3 women that I was working with. I was very excited. I thought, wow, what a superpower will be. And naively, that was not true. Naively, they wanted to get me out because I'd moved up the ranks so fast. They were concerned that instead of being teammates, that I would take them out. So I had a boss who would call me every day and say, listen, I think you suck at what you do. You're horrible. And she would just tell me horrible stuff. I'm probably going to fire you today. She would do it day after day after day. And I got to a point where literally I was like having a mental breakdown. I had just had my second child. So I had done an 8-week checkup right before I started this job. Very healthy. 2 months in, I go back for another checkup. My hair is falling out. I probably dropped about 25 pounds. I'm getting constant urinary tract infections because I'm never leaving my desk to go to the bathroom. And my doctor says, you were healthy 2 months ago, very healthy. Now you're on a track that if you stay like this, you're going to have a heart attack. So whatever's happening in your life, you need to get rid of it. And so that was a big wake-up call for me because I had gotten this big position and I had beat out all these people and I had broken all these barriers. And me, the idea of quitting was like, well, everyone's going to think I couldn't do it, which is what they told me, that I wouldn't be able to handle it. And it wasn't that I couldn't handle it. It was that I was in a very toxic environment. And if you're in a toxic environment long enough, it will start to affect you. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of had this breakdown, if you will, for a day or so. And then I went to my husband and I said, listen, I think I need to quit this job. And he was like, as long as you can find another one, I don't care. This is my husband. You have to meet him. He's very like, sure, whatever. But for me, it was an identity crisis because I was walking away that's something I had spent years building. So who was I going to be? What was I going to do if I walked away from that? And what was everyone going to think about me? And that woman, she's going to win. Well, through some guidance, I reported her. And the organization decided that they would give me, so many months payout to allow me to go find another job, even though they're like, will you please stay? And I'm like, yeah, no. So that was kind of a transition in my life that was very, very tough because I had to decide where and what I was going to do and what Julie I wanted to be. And the Julie that I was being was not really what I wanted to be. That's just what everyone told me I should go do because that was successful. So it was a difficult time in my life of figuring out where I was going and what I was going to do and who I actually wanted to be. So about around 30, it was like I had 2 toddlers, dropped a very high paying job, and was kind of like, what the hell do I do now?
I want to address it. First off, I want to applaud you for taking action and reporting this person. Second off, I just watched Bill Burr's new thing with, he was like Red Rock Canyon or wherever he was in Red Rock or something. He talked about women. The average woman is smarter than the average guy. I've worked with women in every facet of my career, and they do things better. They're more detail oriented. They get along, like everything, in my opinion, that women do better. And he's like, so why aren't women ruling the world? It's because they can't get along with other women. They're not actually empowering each other. They're not actually building each other up. And if you're not watching the video right now, both ladies are nodding, because it's not the guys that are a problem. Yeah, guys do cause problems. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that they don't. Carol's story is full of that. But it's other ladies tearing you down. And I mean, that story highlights it. I know I'm not the end all be all knowledgeable person on this stuff, but I see it. I see it when my wife goes and hangs out with other women, and a woman ends up leaving the room, and they're like, oh, she's all this and she's that, blah, 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 blah. Or they get together and they tear down the person that they're with. And she's like, I don't know, I can't hang out with other ladies that are doing this stuff. I was like, I don't blame you. She's like, all they do is like bash on their husbands, or as soon as they leave the room, they're bashing on the other. Why on earth for? Why can't we all win?
Yeah. Women are jealous. I mean, look at Julie. She's like this beautiful person, right? So you think about this. All those women thought she slept her way to the top. It's not uncommon. If you're succeeding and you're literally making it up through the ranks, they automatically assume you're sleeping with everybody along the way. And you can't be doing it for merit, right? Even though you did, they have to have this narrative, because I think they feel like shit about themselves. And so this is a way of projecting. It's horrible.
Well, and I've always had to be above and beyond. That is an assumption of me as a woman in high positions, is that I have slept my way to the top, or I've somehow worked my way up. Now, I have always gotten along well with men for a couple of reasons. I have a great relationship with my father. We always had lots of guys around. He was an auto mechanic. All my coaches were men. So all my mentors were men. I got along real well with them. And I'm an easygoing person. I don't get offended easily. I like to have fun. If someone tells a crude joke, it's not the end of the world. I don't think it's sexual harassment. I'll probably tell one too. And so I get along well. And one of the things I like is no drama. And guys are so no drama. So
Amen.
I built a lot of great male relationships in the companies, and guess who was promoting me? The males, because they're like, man, she does her job. She's easy to work with. She knows what she's doing. Like, yeah, props. We're going to move her up because we want Julie to work with us. But in my world, like literally my office door's always open, never closed, because if it's closed, someone assumes I'm doing something with a man who walks in. I mean, literally it's been said to me before. If I travel on trips, when I was working for the university, I would not go out to dinner with anyone after our meetings. I would go to my hotel room. I wouldn't go sit and have drinks with people, because it would be assumed that if I walked off with them, we were going to my room, to go do business. I mean, and so I've always had to be this above the bar on everything, because literally I've been accused of it. Now, obviously I've worked my way for a long time in the industry, and that's become very clear that I have skills. But it has been something that I would say that's probably the biggest barrier I had was women helping me out. I never had a female mentor, never. They always had to be male mentors. And I would have given anything for a woman like that was higher up to give me some guidance, on what I was doing. So it's a bummer that happens.
All this stuff is crazy. So I got into an officer program in the military, and I got sent to University of Oklahoma full time. When I got to the ROTC unit, there was this massive amount of people. It was like the biggest. They had like 88 kids, 88 adults in this in this university. When I walked in, and I'm a people person. I like talking to people. I say hello. You both know this. Like I go around like, hey, how you doing? Hey, hi. I get there, and it's like a middle school dance, and there's this large number of women on one side and this large group of males on the other side. I go and introduce myself and say hello, and we've got all these young ladies that are just thirsty for mentorship, that want to do well, that want to do good things. And I didn't understand what was happening at the time. I found out later, but there was only one prior active duty female Marine that was there. And there was like 50 women for her to mentor. And there was all this huge crew of active duty guys. So like you can, 2-to-1, 3-to-1 mentorship, or if it was the ladies, it was 1-to-50. And I just like, hello, hey, how you doing? And they were just so eager to do well and do good things. I was like, here's the deal. I'm going to swing through here on Tuesdays and Thursdays for lunch. I'm going to grab whoever's here. We'll go to the union. We'll have lunch, ask whatever questions you have. I've been in the Navy for 10 or 11 years at the time. And they loved it because they were finally getting some attention, someone willing to help and share and all this stuff. And eventually got accused of sleeping around. And I was like, what are we talking about here? She's like, well, we see you over talking to the girls and laughing. I was like, so accuse me of being hilarious. Why are you, accusing me of this? And they were like, well, we see you come in, you get this group of girls and 4, 5, 6 if you walk off. I was like, I'm the old fat guy here. What do we think is happening? Like I have some kind of harem that I'm running. Well,
like,
you were seen out in town with women. I was like, oh yeah, there was a picture of me out with a group of people. And what do you do with a group of people? When you take a picture, you put your arms around each other, right?
Yeah.
I was like, I still don't understand what the problem is here. Like, well, you're married. I'm like, yeah. And all these ladies come to my house and they know my wife and they hang out with my kids and they ask her questions about military life from a woman's point of view. Like they're interested.
Yeah.
Well, we just can't have so I found out what really happened, right? They didn't tell me. They could have told me. They could have warned me about this and I could have told them how I'm going to operate up front.
Yeah.
Turns out there was an active duty guy that came back through the unit. While he was married, he joined a fraternity. He started dating one of the young ladies in ROTC, got her pregnant, divorced his wife. Whole big scandal happened right before I got there. That's why there was that divide. But if they would have told me that, I would have been like, I'm a people person. I'm going to be in here. I'm going to be mentoring people. I'm going to be talking to the ladies because they can't be ignored. If you're going to ignore them for their college career and then have them as naval officers, Marine Corps officers with no mentorship for 4 years, what are we doing to our military? Right. Well, there's this whole big like disaster that was created. And they assumed I was cheating on my wife with like 5 or 6 of these girls. Like, yeah. I was like, do me a favor, stop fantasizing about me. What are they doing? They're creating a story in their head about me that's not real. That's a fantasy. They're fantasizing about me. And I don't really appreciate that when I was younger. Now that I'm older, please fantasize about me all you want. But well, what is it that like, am I unapproachable? You can't say, hey, that's a little odd. What's going on? They couldn't just ask. They had to have like meetings about my behavior, like I was doing anything wrong, like they were doing anything wrong. What kind of nonsense is that?
Yeah. I mean, that's my thing about being transparent. Like, and when I was a professor, I was the youngest. So did I get offers from the older gross professors? Yeah, all the time. Yeah. It was gross. And once again, it's gross. They were so old. It's gross. What does Adam Sandler say in Adam Sandler's movie? Like gross old balls. Like I think that's what he says, right? You said this is like a
5-year plan. Maybe it's a 10-year plan. What is it plan? Don't die. He's got like old balls, loose skin.
But that was my other issue, was not only being a woman, but being a young woman. I was too young to be remotely smart enough to do that job. I didn't put in the time, and that's kind of what She Talks is about. I mean, one of our mottos there is, we are not your competitors. We are your biggest supporters. And if we get women in like that, we kick them. We're like, get out. There's no room for you. And we've created this massive network where you have like huge barrier breaker women who will just sit down with anyone and be like, yeah, all right, how can I help you? And there's no, and I mean, I'm guilty of being competitive. I'm a played professional athlete. I am competitive. You want to play some Monopoly? We're going to play some Monopoly, right? You want to play some chess? We're going to play some chess. I'm going to destroy you.
I know. In our house, if there's a game set up, cards, board game, we're not family. Fuck you. I'm going to dominate you. I don't even care. I will lie, cheat, and steal. Like, people are like, what did you just do? I'm like, I'm winning. I don't even care about you. And then like we leave the table and we're still family. But
I even cheat in miniature golf. Like I will, because I suck at it. So I'll tell you, people are like, I'll knock my ball. My husband gets so mad at me. He's like, you cheated. I was like, I don't know. You looked away. My ball's in the hole. What can I say?
But don't you find that it's really sad because everybody, especially women, preach this, oh, we are just so encouraging and we are going to support each other and blah, blah, bull fucking shit. Because at the end of the day, I mean, sadly, because I have yet to meet a woman that says those things that actually follows them. And I'll help anybody. Yeah, but I help anybody, whether you're a man or a woman, right? But to say it, and because that's what society says we should say, and then not actually do it, don't freaking say things that aren't true. Don't tell me you're going to be supported when you're not going to be. You know, at least wouldn't it be nice if everybody wore like the kind of people they were on their forehead so you could just really know asshole or bullshitter or whatever, you know, just like put it on your forehead.
Hey,
so
I'm
you
right.
Get, like,
I'm right here. You don't have to. I'm right. I'm saying right here.
It's true though. I mean, I think what's really frustrating in this society is exactly what we're talking about, right? And it can keep you from being a Titan, right? Like you're just working your way up to top, you're doing your due diligence and like, well, there's no way that they could really be that successful. So let's just chop them down a bit. I'm sure she or he is sleeping around. I'm sure they made a deal. Oh, I'm sure they probably know somewhere. They're friends, you know, and I always tell people, I never got a dang thing for anything that I did. No one gave me any money to start my businesses. You know, I was an underdog. I've always been an underdog in everything I started. And it literally was just me, like with sheer willpower and wanting it to go get it. No one was like, here's $50,000 to start your business. I started my business on pennies. You know, I got a scholarship for my first degrees, but I paid for my other degrees. I'm dyslexic. So work for me is twice as hard with everything I do, you know? And so, you know, I hate that we can't accept someone's success without questioning it, you know, and just being like actually genuinely happy for someone. So,
right, and celebrate it with them. I mean, there's no celebration, you know, between women. I just don't, and the glass ceiling, I'll tell you who's in charge of that glass ceiling, other women.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the quote of the century right there.
Right.
Feminists are going to hate to hear this because I'm not a feminist because I do not like the way these women have gone. It's kind of gross, but I've never been stopped by a man. The people who have stopped me in my progression have been women. And so I even say in my book, like, I love my guys and not in a weird, funky, strange way, but I get more support and promotion. Now, mind you, I have a great circle of women now. So shout out to all my ladies. They know who they are. I have a great circle and it's little. I took my circle and I went like this. I don't need 300 or 1,000 or 1,000,000. I need 3 or 4 and I'm good. And then we can work our way out from there. But that's all I need. And we are our biggest, like, we're so excited when something happens for them. Like we're calling each other. We're like, oh my God, that's awesome. I love it. You know, and that's what I love is that I never had anyone except for my family cheering me on in my process. I mean, there wasn't, you know, and so I didn't find those friends till much, much later in my life. And I think that's why it's hard when people are trying to become a Titan to find the group that wants to take you and help you make it to the next level. You know, it exists now much more than it did 20 years ago. I mean, I was told girls don't do business, girls don't own business, girls don't teach business. Literally in one of my job interviews, the guy said, the English department's down the hall, honey. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. That was one of my interviews.
Holy shit.
So, you know, that support group, and thankfully, you know, once again, my wacky mom, I would call her crying and she'd be like, he's an idiot. Go do what you want to do, you know? And I'd be like, thanks, Mom. That's great advice. But she was right. He was an idiot. So
everyone needs those people.
Yeah.
They're like, you know what? He's fucking stupid. Do what you're going to do.
Well, and don't you think those people also fire you up? Like it just gives you that oomph to just go and do it because it's like, I'm going to show him. You know, and it's not so much showing him, it's showing yourself that you're capable.
And I'm super competitive. So when you do shit like that to me, I'm just like, let's go, you know. Now I know not everyone's like that. Some people cry and go back the other way, but that's probably where I'm at because so many people were like, no, no, no. And I was like, why not? Why not? You know, and it was just like, well, fine, whatever. You know, I can't speak on stage. I'll make my own stage. I'm not supposed to do business. I'll go start 4 businesses and make more money than you. You know, I mean, I always feel like where there's a will, there's a way. So if you want it, and this is why I always say, there's really no barriers but yourself, right? Those women who, you know, were horrible to me, and I had that horrible moment in my life, essentially pushed me into something that I never would have gone into if they hadn't been that horrible to me. And that's what pushed me in this direction of becoming an author and podcasting and saying, screw you guys. I don't need this big job and this giant amount of money to define me of who I am. And so that's what, you know, I always say, like, if you want it, go get it. I don't have a lot of emotional intelligence for people who are like, oh, I just can't get it. It's not working for me. I'm like, dude, suck it up. Go get it.
that door gets slammed on you. Take an axe, chop the door down, use it as fuel for the fire, and get that thing hotter and go full steam ahead, please.
Yeah. I mean, and Travis, you know, I mean, hearing your story on our podcast, I mean, I always say, I don't know how he's not in a corner sucking his thumb. Like, you know,
he has an incredible story. Yeah.
That stuff happened to you.
Oh,
so like,
stop, keep going. I'll give you 20 minutes, knock it off.
So, I mean, but I think, you know, Titan is a really powerful word. You know, it's a really powerful word when we think about Titans and movies. And I guarantee you that there's a lot of amazing people out there that don't classify themselves as a Titan, you know, and I think that we have to find those people, because those are the people that are going to make change in our world, like really good change.
Oh, 100% agree. And Titans, you know, I think Titans, people think of it as money oriented, like you're talking about, like billionaires, but it isn't about that. It's about being a leader, you know, and that's why we did this, is we really wanted to hear from leaders in their industry, whatever they're doing, and hear how they got there, because it's never a linear path. I mean, there's all kinds of, you know, spikes and falls, and, you know, there's moments where you just literally want to give it all up, and you keep persevering because you don't know anything but. You're driven.
Sometimes I'm like, I wonder what it'd be like to be normal. And then I'm like, oh, that's not going to happen.
No.
But no one wants to be normal. They just want to be included. And then when they get included, they want to be loved for who they are. But somehow we feel like we have to fit in this box to be accepted. Here's the deal, people listening right here, like, go be who you are. Seriously. I know I said it as a guest on another show. I think Oscar Wilde's like, why are you trying to be like everyone else? Everyone else is already taken. Go be you. Be a badass. Be who you are. I wanted Julie to come on here mostly because she's a badass motherfucker. She is. She is. She's talking about these businesses and it's wonderful. No, she kicks down doors. Well, you know, take your head if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Hold it underwater till you submit so that you can go build something amazing. Like, she's like, oh yeah, you know, I live between, you know, 2 Navy bases down in like San Diego. I know she's back on her back patio, you know, drinking Mai Tais, watching all the SEAL candidates running around with their shirts not on, just to be like, yep, this is my life now. I'm just loving it. You know, like, let's not pretend.
AR.
With your AR.
Here is amazing.
Smoking a cigar.
Come for the beach, stay for the view, you know. It was Julie and her team at Synergy Learning that actually got my podcast course accredited at Forbes and Belhaven. She's working on, I think, University of San Diego right now. She is the one that took the Ultimate Podcast Guide and turned it into what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I mean, it's, you know, it's, as I always say, I never imagined myself being in all these spaces because I had a limited imagination at that point in my life. I was told, you know what a good job for a girl is? A school teacher. You should go be a school teacher. Well, if you know me, you don't want me to be your school teacher or your child.
I want you to be my school teacher, but for different.
But I used to think, I mean, and this sounds funny, even when I was young, we had this tree house that my dad had built us because we lived in the country, and I would climb up there, right? And most kids would play with toy. I would make to-do list of what I needed to do. And I was selling stuff and doing entrepreneurship when I was like 10 years old. I was like negotiating deals with farmers to pay me more to pick their berries and stuff like this. You know, I mean, that was just who I was. But people would always say, but you know, there's really two good professions out here, being a teacher or a dairyman's wife. And I would always think, I don't want to be either of those. Nothing wrong with teaching, but for me, it's not my thing. And a dairyman's wife means I'm going to smell shit for the rest of my life. So no.
Smells like money.
Yeah, that's what I'll associate money with. But you know, I think that that's the other thing. Like if we're building out our new generation of women, which I'm such a huge proponent of, I spend a ton of time working with young women. In particular, I take in single moms who are in need, and I help them get out there, right? Get their degrees, get all the stuff they need. You know, when I look at these women, you know, a lot of them come from these families where they think that there's just not much for them to do except work at McDonald's. Nothing wrong with working at McDonald's, but I mean, one of them was like a genius, like no joke. They tested her, she was a genius, but she was so caught up in this in not only just poverty, but gangs, that it was like so hard to pull her out of it and for her to realize like she actually could do something amazing. She could have been freaking with NASA. And I think that our younger generation, if we can give that to them, if we can instill it, but it's difficult to do when people our age can't behave like that. And we behave the way we do, you know, like we're talking about. And so, you know, when I think about raising up just tons of Titans, right? That's what I see is like us taking what we're doing now and instilling in our youth, because God knows our youth needs a lot of freaking help. I don't know if you guys seen social media.
Yeah, they do.
I watch it and I'm like, oh, I need a drink. And so, because the things I see, I'm like, for the love of God, please. But
if
I just
can't cope, turn to alcohol. Definitely
Yeah.
promoted by Dr. Julie Ducharme.
But I just spent a week with 1,500 youth kids at a vacation Bible school, just, you know, and watching the fun of that and seeing us instill good things in them and having good, clean fun and stuff. But, you know, I think probably one of my goals too in this part of my life is to make sure that I can give back to anyone who's coming next, because those are our future leaders. And I feel like we got a long ways to go to get our future leaders where they need to be and our future Titans. And so, you know, I just feel like that's so important that those of us who are doing it like this, we get involved with those youth and push them forward, because if not, then dang, just put a pillow over my face. No.
It is our obligation, though. We really, really need to. I look at my kids are now 24 and 26, and I sit there and I go, wow, you know, the way they grew up is so different than the way I grew up. And we didn't have cell phones, and thank God we didn't have cell phones, because the shit we got away with back then, I didn't want recorded.
Same.
You know, but you can't do anything anymore. You got to be so careful about what you do. And I wouldn't want to live in that kind of world, you know, because shoot, if we felt like doing things, you know, we'd like get stark ass naked and run around, you know, and yeah.
Oh gosh, we did
nowadays you can't get away with that without somebody snapping a picture of you and then posting it all over the place, right?
And it's child pornography and you're a sex offender and oh my God, I saw another human's body and we're gonna freak out about it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. We did so many pranks. We moved someone's dorm room on top of their roof, like when we were in college.
My God.
And then, so I got in trouble for one, and they told me that I had to clean the windows around campus. So I got some rollerblades, went to the thrift store and got like this like jail looking outfit. And I got some chains and I put it on, and I was like going around like cleaning the windows in this like jail outfit on rollerblades. And so people were just thought it was so great that they were like, never mind, forget it. I was like, I learned my lesson, thank you. So probably get arrested now for that,
right?
But yeah, we played a lot of pranks. I won't mention other ones because I don't want to incriminate my other fellow pranksters.
Well, don't name names. This isn't the the dime dropping podcast. It's
oh my gosh,
Titan Evolution podcast. So we understand you're not that person anymore.
No, I mean, I would never now go into a guy's dorm room, cover their seats with, icy hot and cellophane, and then tie every single door together so no one could open their door in the morning to go to the bathroom. I would never do that. But I know people have. So yeah.
Wow. We're getting deep and authentic here on the Titan Evolution podcast today. Dr. Julie bringing it home. What kind of advice do you have to people that are maybe stuck on the hamster wheel, don't really fully understand that there's a Titan living within them, or just, what would you tell them? What would you tell these people that are like, is this like all there is?
I meet a lot of people who say to me, I want to do what you do. And I'm like, no, you don't, because what I do is for me. You have to do what you want to do for you. Now, to get out of that hamster wheel, just have to stop running for a moment and step out of it. Or I say, you know what, you're standing at the door and you're scared to open the door and step through it. And nothing's ever going to happen as long as you stare at that door. And what makes the difference between Titans and non-Titans are the Titans walk through the door. Titans get off that day-to-day wheel and go find the change that they need. So if you want to do it, I mean, the biggest thing is people say, oh, I can't, I have $1 million, I don't have the money. Guess what? Half the things I did, I had pennies to my name and I just said, screw it, I'm going to go do it. I mean, so money shouldn't be an excuse. Oh, I don't have the experience. Guess what? There's a thing called the internet. You can figure it out. And I guarantee you there's someone that you can probably find to give you some advice. There's a million YouTube videos on everything. When I talk with people, they run out of excuses really fast because we make excuses because of our fear. And fear is really powerful. It can destroy people's lives. And so you have to be able to get past your fear, your anxiety, all those things that happen. Like I said, I told you guys, every time I have to walk on to do a photo shoot, which I always think, why in the world would they want a photo shoot with me? But every time it happens, it is absolutely terrifying for me at the thought that someone's going to shoot pictures of my body, because I don't want that remotely, right? But I know that that's part and parcel of my job because I've agreed to be a sponsor or they've hired me as a sponsor and I need to do it. So I just have to tuck that fear away and I have to step onto the set. Just like I had an anxiety attack before my radio show and then I walked in and I did it, right? And then I probably sweated through my jacket. But everyone's got excuses. Everyone's got excuses for everything. And I think actually you said it on my podcast, Travis, about taking accountability, right? Taking accountability and moving forward. And so the difference between a Titan and a non-Titan is the people who are willing to step past all of that fear, shame, whatever it is holding them back and say, you know what, I'm going to still go do it. I might fail. I might fall. Oh God, I got lots of those stories. You could do a whole nother podcast and all the stupid things I did in my process of getting to places. But that would be my tip is you got to get rid of the excuses. And here comes the not so empathetic Julie. I don't care. How bad do you want it? And that's going to be the difference between the person who stays on the hamster wheel and the person who gets out there. And everyone has a different path. Everyone takes different time. I'm competitive. I'm a pusher. I get stuff done. That's how I work. You want it done by the end of the week, we're going to go after that, right? Where other people, it might take them 3 months or 3 years or 5 years. So that would be my tip is removing your barriers is removing you from holding yourself back. There's this long pause.
Well, I'm looking at Travis and he's making funny faces again.
I know.
It's pretty standard, Travis. You kicked us off, so I wanted to have you take us on home.
Oh, are we done?
Are we done? Do you have more questions?
No, I just figured you were going to finish off with something. You
I
usually
always
do.
have something to say. I
Deep thoughts by Travis.
usually do it.
He does.
Deep thoughts by Travis. It's funny that you bring up Laura Lee. You're gonna go ahead and just remove all that long pause and whatever we just did there. So
Yeah,
and then I'm gonna kick it off. It's interesting that you bring up being scared about doing a photo shoot. I remember a friend of mine, Cody Bobe. He's an amazing man. His wife came up with this idea for a clothing line called Fit-ish. Like I want to be in shape, but like I still like donuts. Like, so great concept.
That's
And he was
my type
like,
of woman.
yeah, no, it's fantastic. So he's like, I got a couple of shirts. You know, I need people to like to take pictures or whatnot. And he's like, you're definitely in our demographic. You know, I'm muscular, but I also got a lot of layer of protection, you know, from all the elements and all that fun stuff. Cuddling's a lot funner when you're squishy. But so I get there, and immediately I was upset because our friend Clint was there. Clint Campbell he's like 6'3". He's been working out. He's like, I think he's like 40 now. He's been working out for 50 years, extremely jacked, in amazing shape. And I was like, dude, this is bullshit. Like when you invited me over to do this, I heard it was fit-ish. I didn't know I was going to be the before photo.
Oh my gosh.
So I've got a photo. I've got a couple photos of me standing next to Clint. Is just like, completely chiseled out of marble. He's a great dude. And they had one like, just take one, like however you want to pose. That's it. So I give like Clint a big koala bear hug. I've got the arms around him and stuff, and I got my head on his shoulder. And like that's the photo that I have. If you really want to see it, you can go onto my Facebook page and scroll, I don't know, 100 times back through my photos and find my one fitness photo shoot where I'm obviously the before photo. But Julie, this was such a great interview. Thank you so much for being our guest today. I love that you were real, authentic, that you told real stories and really got the essence of what you believe a Titan is and how people can get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
If you want to see more shows like this, we're here each and every week. Give us a like, share, all that fun stuff, and maybe you'll be on the show and you can tell us how you are a Titan.
That's all for this episode of Titan Evolution Podcast. We hope this no-holds-barred conversation opened your eyes on what it takes to live a genuinely happy life according to your own terms. Now that you've treated yourself to such a refreshing discussion, you cannot listen to nonsense content anymore. Be sure not to miss an episode by subscribing to the show at TitanEvolutionPodcast.com. Don't forget to share the word so more people can be enlightened, informed, and entertained. Thank you for listening.